Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you. JPM Morgan and ETFs for Bitcoin. How about a $10 trillion market cap? Come on in. We got BRICS expansion. You're going to want it. And Texas gold legal tender and Glint pay? Oh, don't believe it. It's still true. Ripple and the Digital Euro Association. You're going to love it. We got David Schwartz talking about the on-demand liquidity DEXs and automated market makers. And what about a $10,000 XRP scenario and more? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.09 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 0.8%. Bitcoin, 26,000, slightly over, 1639 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap is now 82.9 billion plus. XRP is 50 cents. It's up 1.3 on the 24-hour and off by 4.3 on the 7-day. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you that I have just bought my gold from Miles Franklin, physical gold. It is coming to the house. It's already been shipped. I bought a 1-ounce Buffalo coin. And let me tell you something. If you're looking for the best prices on gold and silver, you want to call the number underneath of this video in the description box. And you want to ask them exactly what you can do to get the best prices and give them the code DIGGOLD. You're going to get the best prices for physical gold sent directly to your house. But that's not all we got today, so stay tuned for more. But trust me when I tell you, Miles Franklin knows all the tax benefits based on what state you're calling from. So make sure you call them and tell them dig gold to get the best prices and deals possible. Let's get started here. National debt is reaching $33 trillion. It's no mistake while we're talking about Miles Franklin this morning. I think we all know that we're not paying it back without a haircut to the bondholders. That is too much money. Something has to be worked out. And while we're watching that moment of debt creation and this point of no return, we also see that we are waiting still for a ETF spot Bitcoin approval. And this is what JP Morgan says, that the SEC will likely approve Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF. And I say that Ripple Van Winkle's got it right here. You want to talk about a $10 trillion market cap on crypto? Bring on an ETF. You damn right. You damn right, Ripple Van Winkle's got it right there, because you have the protections inside of an ETF that people don't get currently in the actual crypto market, right? So there's some investor protections inside of that ETF to have exposure, and I think he's absolutely right. You're going to see trillions of dollars pour into this space. And I said the other day, I believe, we could see that bull run 24 to 25. Remember, the Bitcoin halving is in April of next year. That we usually see a push in Bitcoin price to the upside, and we see the run, and then altcoins usually follow that. So barring any kind of unforeseen use case utility announcements, that I would expect that to be the normal trend. We shall see what will happen. I will take anything earlier if it wants to come, however, and I'm sure that you all will as well. Meanwhile, BRICS has expanded with a collective GDP, gross domestic product here, of $83.5 trillion. The main point about the expansion of BRICS is the trade and development potential that it brings. No doubt about it. The bloc expanded to 11 members, increasing the overall geographic reach of BRICS to 84 countries. That's what we're looking at, and we're waiting to hear just how quickly Saudi Arabia is going to take off and run away from that exclusivity of the petrodollar agreement in January, should they do it. Now, this is a remarkable clip right here. This is Glenn Beck, and you're going to hear him talking to a Texas state senator who is going to explain to you that they are working in the legislature to make gold legal tender, and they are citing Glint pay. Yes, that's right. This company right here Glint Pay. Buy, save, send, and spend real gold instantly with Glint. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you about them for about a year and a half now. It is an amazing company in what they do. You get physically allocated gold to you, stored in a Brinks vault. It is your gold, insured by Lloyd's of London, and you spend it through your MasterCard debit card. They have made gold money, and the Texas legislature knows it. Take a listen right here.
We have a Texas state senator on with us. His name is Brian Hughes. And Texas has now introduced legislation in the House and the Senate that could make gold or silver legal tender. Senator, welcome. How are you, sir?
Good, having a great day. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Okay, so tell me where this bill is, what it exactly does, and why it's important.
Several years ago, Texas established its own gold bullion depository.
Thank God.
The state of Texas taxpayers, own a lot of gold investments, and we were concerned it was being stored in New York and other places, and so we wanted our own bullion depository. Along with that, we wanted to have the option of trading in gold and silver, and so we've had the bullion depository established for several years, and now Senate Bill 2334 that I filed, and there's a companion in the House by Representative DeRazio, will allow Texas to establish a gold-backed digital currency. So we're talking about currency and backed by gold, a digital currency issued by the state of Texas.
Keep listening.
Wait. You kind of lost me on this. Why is it digital?
The idea about digital is to make it practical so that folks can use it in commerce. Of course, tied to gold, real currency backed by gold, not fiat money. And this is about the state of Texas making this available. There's also concern about what the feds may be doing, and this is a defense mechanism against that.
The idea that this is digital does make it easier to use, but what stops the state of Texas from gathering the information and doing basically, I'm not saying you guys would, but you start things like this and then somebody, else gets in charge and you got the same problem. What stops you from doing what the Fed wants to do, which is control that money?
This is something we're treading very lightly with because we have an eye on what the feds are doing, the very thing you're describing. And Texas, we believe, needs this to defend our people against what the feds are up to. That has a lot to do with it. Of course, safeguards put in place, and I think we all agree that the government closer to the people is more responsive, more accountable, and so the states should be the ones doing this, not the feds.
Have you been into our repository, Texas?
I have not.
I would really like to take a tour of that. I mean, I remember talking to Rick Perry, and I said to him early on, you got to get your gold back. This is when I was in New York, got to get your gold back. And he said, we're working on it. And I thought for sure there was no way Texas was going to get their gold. And we did. And then we built, from what I understand, it is one of, if not the safest place in Texas and one of the most incredible repositories in the world. That's what I've heard.
Keep listening.
Glenn, when we passed the bill, we thought about maybe putting it at the Alamo, which would be appropriate and symbolic. It just
right.
didn't work physically. And so you're right. It makes sense. Texas needed to do it. You proposed it. Kevin Freeman, who I know works with you a lot, pushed this for a long time and has a lot to do with the bill we're working on now on the gold-backed digital. But you're exactly right. Texas has her own gold bullion depository.
So this is kind of like the Glint MasterCard.
That's the idea.
Kind of like the Glint MasterCard.
That's the idea. As you know, make a transaction with that, and it calculates the exchange rate and does it for you. The difference with the Glint MasterCard, of course, is that you have to deal with capital gains.
And who's got a problem with capital gains? Because that means your price of your gold went up after you bought it. I'll take it all day long. Listen, this is why I've told you about Glint for a year and a half. Now it's dawning on Texas as they're moving to make gold legal tender. Look, there will be influencers that say it's crypto, and forget gold and all of this. Then you'll see gold bugs that say it's gold, forget crypto. It's both. Gold will be used to shore up the new digital financial system and bring the confidence to it. Glint brings that confidence to it right now. They don't need to tokenize anything because they've already made it so you can spend gold like money right now. And you can also get Glint on Link2, ladies and gentlemen, private equity. Click the link for that. I tell you, what a remarkable moment and time we are in. More friction, more forms of money coming. We are in a transitional phase as we move from a debt-based backed system to an asset-backed system. Why wouldn't you want gold and crypto? I tell you that. And here we see this. September 5th, 2023, for an illuminating Digital Euro Association panel from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Ripple is right here with Andrew Whitworth. Shout out to Andrew. You know, Ripple will be on the DEA panel tomorrow, and you can know this. Ripple and Ripple X are coming at this from both ends, the top down and the bottom up. Everyone meets in the middle, and that's called mass adoption. You know, I hear some of this nonsense that you see out here on the internet where people are trying to get you to choose between developers building in their garages or their homes or basements or whatever versus Ripple and what they've been doing with building massive relationships and market infrastructure. It takes a village, ladies and gentlemen. And anybody trying to split the baby on this has really got an adolescent approach to what's happening out here. Understand that one. And I tell you what, here's somebody who's got a grown-up look at what's going on. It's David Schwartz. We've heard the dream scenario, but take a listen to this very quickly. What a nice, beautiful reminder this is, that the CTO from Ripple doesn't lose his dream scenario regardless of the mountains that are left to climb, the journey that is yet left to be traveled. Take a listen to this.
Do you believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as the reserve currency.
And before he says another word in this clip, and I know we've heard it, but stay with me through this for a second. I've got something to show you after this. But you know what? History has told us that there's been more than one world reserve currency, because when there is a transition from one to another, there is a period of competition that takes place. And this would suggest that we may be moving, knowing that we are 79 years of the world reserve currency for the US dollar. And there are 2 of the last 5 that had a lifespan of 80 years. So now is that time to start dealing with the issues that are at hand. Obviously, like $33 trillion worth of debt, printing too much money. Keep listening.
I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And you know, one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks, like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, you know, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, you know, only like 10 banks in the country, on the planet, are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the U.S., you know, that's grown the U.S. economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the U.S. holding its position, you know, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, you know, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the U.S. dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the U.S. dollar scenario. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, that's the one I've been talking about for years. I think the way you get everybody to agree is do what you did with R3. And you enter into a pre-allocated option contract of 5 billion XRP, right? I think that's what you do, but I don't think David's in a position to be able to speak on that particular part of it if I were to have to guess.
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.
I don't think they're going to see it as too much of a minus either. I always found that comment there at the end very incredible because when you think of it, it means that there's obviously been an acknowledgement. What about the noise? What about the retail noise part of the market, right? Look, every healthy market has three things: market makers, market participants, and speculators. And that is, all of those things make up a healthy market. And it's okay that you're a speculator in a market. And it's okay that that speculator may one day, not too long from now, may also become a market maker. Because Ripple CTO David Schwartz says here, he explained that currently on-demand liquidity does not utilize decentralized exchanges at the moment. However, he noted ongoing investigations into incorporating DEX services into on-demand liquidity, potentially allowing trading against automated market makers, which means that could be you and I participating at that level. In other words, Ripple is about to tie into liquidity from everywhere, including automated market makers. And here's an article that came out here. Limited supply of XRP tokens may not be sufficient for handling global transactions at low prices, giving weight to the $10,000 plus price prediction that you hear so many people speculate upon. In such a scenario, a price point of merely $10, let's say, as an example, would fall drastically short of providing the liquidity necessary to handle the volume of transactions. At a price of $10,000 or more, however, XRP could provide the liquidity needed for such a vast, interconnected digital financial system. To sum it up, the argument of a $10,000 plus XRP isn't born out of thin air, but arises from its foundational purpose. As countries continue to explore and adopt CBDCs, the need for a highly liquid bridge currency will only become more pressing, and XRP, with its unique design and purpose, is poised to fill that role like no other. So, whether you're a believer or a skeptic, one thing is clear: dismissing a $10,000 plus XRP scenario outright might be a hasty decision in the rapidly evolving world of digital finance. It's a possibility that deserves serious consideration. No question about it. And no one for a second is saying it's next Tuesday. But we are saying that if it's going to serve in the role that it was intended to do, a higher price is going to have to exist for XRP for it to functionally serve in that role. And in the meantime, you'll be able to flip the switch when you're ready.
In the XRP ledger, and you can handle real money with it. You don't have to. You have a switch that you can flip whenever you're ready to handle real money.
And there you have it right there. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.